Good evening.
Good evening, TC, and welcome all to our weekly podcast, The Curran View, with the Eye of Hillsborough, Mr. Terry Curran. And if you're listening to the free first half on either Acast or Spotify, you can follow the links on our socials and access the full podcast via either Apple or become a Patreon on www.patreon.com/SRBmedia, or follow the podcast on Twitter at Curran View or Facebook The Curran View, or join the group of the same name, which is almost 3,000 strong to date. Thank you so much for your support. It's greatly appreciated. How are you, pal? You all right?
Fine. Brilliant, yes.
You're sounding distant, TC. Are you down the cellar?
No, I'm in kitchen.
You're in the kitchen. Are you on loudspeaker or are you to your ear?
No, I'm not on loudspeaker. I'm on loudspeaker now. How's that?
You're sounding a little bit better now, to be fair. You sounded quite distant. What have you sourced for us this week, TC?
As usual, there's some fantastic goals, but I'm going for the 2 goals for Arsenal against Wolverhampton.
Yep.
The great ball into Pepe, controls it with his left foot, spins round and puts it in.
Tremendous.
And the intricate move for Lacazette's not his second goal, but the second goal, which puts Arsenal clinches as a winner.
Yeah.
But the movement and to get it in there, people may look at it as the goalkeeper may have saved it, but for me, the movement itself and the keeper's not knowing where he's going to put it, and I thought that those were 2 great goals. I did like Joe Linton's header. Again, the movement there. Newcastle looking a lot better now, looking a lot more authority with the football, but more confidence. So, but Arsenal, for me, they might nick this fourth spot.
Yeah, I mean, it's still up for grabs. Manchester United are keepers at the moment. Wolverhampton Wanderers, with the 2 bad results in London, have fallen off the pace a little bit. Tottenham have got the games in hand, as have Arsenal. And really, when you look at all the teams and the form, your money would be on Arsenal. And I just think it's been such a topsy-turvy season. It's almost been similar to when Leicester won the league, whereas none of the other teams had the best of seasons. And the two at the top, City and Liverpool, are streets ahead. Then you've got Chelsea, that in fits and starts are looking good. And then you look at Chelsea and you're thinking, nah. But Chelsea do look as though they're going to come third. And it really is that race to fourth. And it's almost as though no one really wants to grab it.
Well, Man United are up and down. They've got a bit of turmoil.
Yeah.
Sack the manager. New manager comes in. He's not, he's on an interim manager until the summer. Our players wanted to play for him. We're not sure because, we can't believe everything what is written about anything, especially at this moment in time. Arsenal, they have a great run and then they have a little bit of a blip.
Yeah.
I don't think Chelsea. I've been meaning to write about this for a month, but with flitting and everything else and decorating and what have you, I've not had a really much chance to sit down and really write about it. I don't think Chelsea wants to play with the manager wants to play with Lukaku.
100% he doesn't.
But it's 90 million quid.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I keep telling everybody in football, doesn't mean that you're a bad player if managers doesn't pick you, because that manager may not fancy you. And at the end of the day, that a manager picks the team.
Yep.
And players have to be, if they don't like managers, it'll only reflect more on the players than it does the manager.
Yeah.
Because the manager has the upper hand, in a sense, that he picks the team. I know the players have got upper hand in general, but it's down to you it's down to that manager whether you play. And I think the manager does not fancy Lukaku. I really don't. The way how he wants to play football, balls played into Lukaku, and you might turn around and say, well, it looked as though he'd improved in Italy. But in Italy, you know as well as I do, they stand off you a lot more, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
In the Premier League, it's hustle and bustle and get at them, and high pressing, with the just coming to the game, the high pressing game and everything else, and you don't get time unless you've got good control. You're not going to get that time. on the ball, and I think he's struggled. I mean, he's even turned around and saying that he'd take a pay cut to go back to Inter. And then you've got what's happening in Ukraine and everything else with Abramovich, and there's a bit of turmoil at Chelsea at the moment in time.
There is. I did see that. That whether it was a meme, I can't remember. But there's so many things on Facebook that do make me laugh, and it was Abramovich having all his assets frozen and taken away, and said, "Well, you can keep Lukaku if you like." and things like that, they do tickle me. I was listening to Huddy's podcast.
I've not seen that one.
Yeah, I'd just seen it somewhere and just sprung to mind. And I was listening to Alan Hudson's podcast with Tony Jimenez and Martin Knight. They were talking about the late and great Peter Osgood, and Huddy was just saying that he'd never really seen a player like Ozzy in training or in a game. Was different class. He always put it in. He got such ability. He was a big lad, and the ideal central striker who was always in a game, and he was. I mean, he wasn't comparing, but he was just saying that when Osgood was missing from the Chelsea team, they really missed Oz. And what he said to me on podcasts, he was like like a dermatologist, the best dermatologist in the world. He saved Chelsea's skin so many times. And he was saying, like, with Lukaku, he's watched Lukaku play for Chelsea, and what his opinion is, they're better off without him. They look a better team when Lukaku isn't in the team. Again, it goes back to the way that the manager wants to play, and he clearly doesn't fit into the way that Tuchel wants to play football. I think you're spot on.
Two different types of players,
Absolutely.
2 different types of way of playing. One's physically strong.
Yeah.
Osgood was physically strong, but what I mean by Lukaku's strength is like over the top and power of hustle and bustle, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Whereas Osgood, I understand Hudson, where he's coming from with Osgood, ball played into him, it sticks. Timing of the ball was phenomenal. Like Jimmy Greaves, caressed the ball into net, whereas Lukaku, especially if he's got time, there's more chance of him missing than scoring. And I don't mean that the nasty way.
Yeah.
You can see how the confidence in those types of players, what caress the ball into the net than the ones what just blast it in. And timing, Osgood's timing was as good as anybody's around in that era. So, for me, Osgood is a league above Lukaku.
Oh, absolutely.
And, what you get with Lukaku is if he's not playing in Chelsea, not winning or scoring goals, the pundits in England, you haven't got a plan B. There isn't such thing as a plan B.
Yeah, improve plan A.
Well, you do improve plan A, but what plan B is having strength in depth. And when you fetch somebody off, you're fetching somebody on what may be better, but at least as good as the one you're bringing off. There ain't such thing as plan A, plan B.
Yeah, absolutely too. So
it's just that's just a made up word in England.
Yeah, of course it is.
And it's like how else we all fall for that 5-card chicken. Oh, well, they haven't got a plan B. They haven't got this. No, they haven't got is strength in depth.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still coming down from the Wolverhampton Wanderers night last night. There was Jeff Palmer. Willie couldn't make it, so Jeff Palmer was there. Kenny Hibbett, Steve Kindon and King John Richards. Fantastic. Steve Daly is just the best host I've ever listened to. I'm still chuckling about him now. And when you were on about the strength of Lukaku and his pace, I was talking about Steve Kindon when they signed him from Burnley Football Club. And I said they signed a player who got the pace of a racehorse, the strength of a shy horse, and sadly the brains of a fucking rocking horse.
Well,
it was just Steve Daly is just different class.
They say he's quite good at after dinner speaking, but he's
Kindo's
very good
one
at
of the
after
best
dinner.
as well. Yeah, both Kindo.
Kindo's brilliant, but like I say, Kindo won it 6 or 7 times the fastest footballer.
Oh, absolutely.
But up to me doing my ligaments at Forest, I'd put my name down for that.
Yeah.
And I could obviously get injured. I couldn't do it then when it came back again. I think it had stopped then, or maybe a year down the line it had stopped. Something why I didn't put my name down, whatever. But I was good. I was putting my name. Well, I did put my name down for the one, but I got injured. I'd have been running against Steve Kingdon to find out how quick I was compared to him.
And Supermac as well. Supermac had.
He killed Supermac. He killed Supermac about 6 lengths.
Oh, did you? Bloody must have been.
Yes.
He also played. He was.
But Supermac.
Yeah.
You know that 25-yard burst.
Yeah.
But the 100 yards.
Yeah.
Kingdon had gone. It was like Usain Bolt.
He played because
the further he went away from people.
He played rugby up there. He's a Warrington lad, isn't he? Because John Richards was saying they're playing the same rugby and football team when they were up there in Warrington. A great lad was Kindo, and as you say, a great after-dinner speaker, as was Steve Daly, two of the best. And you've got a bit of after-dinner speaking. I'm not sure whether you're having dinner, but you're definitely speaking with Bigsy, aren't you, on Friday night?
Yeah,
so a bit of a shout out for that.
Friday, and then I've got one on the 10th in Retford. So, and I've had a couple of people phone me up, so I may be doing one up in Whitby and one in Worksop. So it looks like they're starting to take off, unless there's a world war breaks out. We don't know, do we? So
you'll be going over them North Yorkshire moors then if you're going to Whitby, won't you?
Yes, I will be travelling all that way up there if I'm going up there.
Terrifying them. I only went over them the once. I tell you what, I ain't going over them North Yorkshire moors again. I don't like heights.
Well, if you go up in the daytime, it's okay. So I would be going up in the daytime and spending a couple hours up there before night, before the evening do, like so. But I understand what you're saying. It's like we know, but top from Barnsley to Manchester, that used to be, when I was a kid, that used to be terrifying.
Really?
Yes, from Barnsley over the top towards Manchester.
But you've got a lot of hills up there up north, TC. We got nothing like it in Birmingham. We're okay. It's quite flat. We got the Lickies and we got the Clent Hills, but I don't have to drive anywhere near them. I'm absolutely terrified of heights, and I was driving over, and it was 3 o'clock because Birmingham City were playing Coventry, and my lad had phoned me to tell me that Birmingham had scored, and my hands were just embedded on that steering wheel. I said to the missus, "You better answer this phone." My call at the time was town called Malice by the Jam. The phone's gone off. I said, "Sam, you better answer that. I can't take my hands off the steering wheel." I was absolutely petrified driving over there. My magic moments, TC. Elise's assist for Crystal Palace against Burnley. I like that lad. I think he's a tremendous football player. Good with both feet, and a tremendous assist there for Crystal Palace the weekend. Harry Kane's goal and assist, that pass was phenomenal.
Unbelievable.
I mean, how many times has he done that?
Look at Tottenham. Beat Man City.
I know.
Shocking against Burnley, and then they were brilliant against Leeds.
You got to love Conte because he just says it as he sees it. I mean, after they got beat by Burnley, right, that's it, I'm off, I've had enough. And then, they go win the next game and he's back, he's smiling again. I mean, he's just typical Latin fiery temperament, but they must drive him bonkers because Tottenham have got some great players, and I think Kane and Son, two of the best partnerships that probably we've seen in British football. They're almost telepathic, aren't they?
I think not Kane. I think Son could play with anyone.
Absolutely.
Anyone. I do like Harry Kane. I wrote about Harry Kane, when Tottenham beat Manchester City, when everybody's saying, about Harry Kane beat Tottenham. No, he didn't. It wasn't Harry Kane beat Tottenham.
Beat City, yeah.
Beat City. Yeah. And what it is, what it is, it isn't one man makes a team. No. One man helps a team.
Of course he does.
But if that team's on, you ask Goody, when that Chelsea were a great team, when Best were playing, and yes, Best were an absolutely genius of a player, but he couldn't win the World Cup for Northern Ireland because the team weren't good enough.
Absolutely.
But he still played quite well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well. He still played brilliant. So I do like Kane, and what I was trying to get at, when Tottenham play well, they're a good team.
They are.
And Kane looks even better.
Yeah.
But it's not, Tottenham's all not down to one team, and everything, Liverpool's not down to one team. They're down to quality managers, pair of them.
Yeah.
Liverpool and Manchester City.
Absolutely. But
what put a team together, balance the team up, play with a tempo, and the players will have the confidence to believe in the manager and how the manager wants to play.
100% TC, and we did reference Malcolm McDonald earlier, and I want to give a shout out to the most recent issue of Back Pass magazine, issue number 78, which come out the winter of 2022 this year. On the back cover shot, Malcolm McDonald with Terry Ibbott giving him a cuddle after Malcolm had scored one of his 3 goals on his debut, his Newcastle, his St James's Park debut, when they put Liverpool to the sword 3-2. Supermax scoring 3 goals. And what a player Terry Hibbett was, wasn't he, of course?
Both those, Terry and Kenny Hibbett, were both great players in that era. Great,
absolutely.
They could have fitted into any team.
I told him that last night.
It's like Lassisier could fit into any team, but he decided to stay at Southampton. But I was watching a podcast, All Gold, on YouTube, and I watched the one with Kenny a bit, and like he was saying, he nearly went twice, but he stayed there 16 years, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Before he went,
great servant.
Bristol Rovers, was it? Bristol Rovers, I think it was, wasn't it? He went down that way somewhere.
He certainly went to Coventry, because he was talking about that last night.
Yes.
And then, of course, he went on and managed at Walsall. So, I mean, Kenny's always been a local lad since he travelled down as a 15-year-old from Bradford, because he was there at Bradford Park Avenue. And it was Don Reevy. It was Don Reevy that says to him, Wolverhampton Wanderers have come in for you. They're a great club. You got to go, son. Because at the time, Terry was at Leeds United.
Leeds, yeah. And he said he couldn't settle. It took him a while to settle.
Well, the train stopped a couple of times, and sadly, his dad had.
Have you watched the podcast or no?
I've interviewed him. I've done a podcast with him.
Yes, I know. Yes, I realise.
I've done one about it with his Seattle Sounders years. I've done a generic one with Kenny. Huddy and myself done a Too Good to Be Forgotten, talking about Kenny's time there in Seattle. And I've done a Game of My Life when he scored that fantastic goal from the free kick that promoted you guys at Nottingham Forest.
At Bolton.
Yeah, absolutely. Iconic. Again, brilliant team. And Kenny and Steve were talking about that season as well. And Kenny had scored 18 goals from midfield. Steve Daly had scored 16 and Willie Card had scored 10. I mean, it's like 30,
it's amazing
30 goals
because at Wolves, Daly looked a good player at Wolves, didn't it?
But he was a good player. But what happened when he moved to City? Do you know?
What I'm trying to say is, I'm not saying he weren't a good player. I said he looks a good player. But Wolves, he goes to Manchester City.
Yeah.
Look at Torres. He goes to Chelsea, and you can't believe the cities he missed.
Yeah.
If that system does not suit you, sometimes it can kill you.
Absolutely. But when he signed TC, he was telling me before, because I had a bit of food with the boys, and then when they were on the stage doing the bit, he'd said that to Malcolm Allison, you're signing me for £1.5 million. You haven't got to sell anybody to finance the deal, have you? And they says, no, we got money in the bank, everything's okay. And then shortly after, they sold Asa Hartford, Gary Owen, Peter Barnes, and Mick Shannon, 4 players. And it was almost as though it was his fault and the City fans turned against him. He had death threats. His kids had death threats. I mean, somebody said,
you're losing the 4 major players in your team, aren't you?
Absolutely, they were rebuilding, but fans don't look at it like that, do they?
What they will look at is one thing and one thing only.
Absolutely, yeah.
They've sold those players to buy him.
Yeah.
But I think they will realise it weren't, because they turned on Malcolm Allison at death.
Yeah, of course they did, yeah. And Big Mal got the sack, but I mean, he had death threats. You're 26. If you don't get out of Manchester, you won't see your 27th birthday. He's told me, be going out with the missus and the kids, people would throw pennies at him and say, that's all you're fucking worth. Yeah. And his head was shot. Terrible. Yeah. Awful the way he was treated.
Yeah, but that's football. If that doesn't work for you and you go for a lot of money, I mean, it doesn't happen as much now. I think they're a bit more protected nowadays.
But again, it ain't the players' fault, is it? That they're going for the money.
No. I know. What I'm trying to say is, that's
I know.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
If you do something wrong in football, I mean, Cantona was protected by Ferguson. If that was Di Canio, Sheffield Wednesday absolutely crucified you.
Spot on, yeah. I mean, he only touched the bloody referee and he fell over as though he'd been shot by a sniper.
Yeah.
I mean, when you went to Sheffield United, you're a bloody Wednesdayite and that. And then when you were in the club...
I got worse than that.
Well, yeah,
I got
I
worse
know.
than that. Don't worry about that.
But when they were at that club, you got 500 quid on him.
Yeah, I tapped Tony Kenworthy on face and then I slapped his ankle a little bit. The fans are absolutely... They all wanted to shoot me and kill me, you know what I mean?
Absolutely, but again, the fans... I always say that football brings out the best and worst in people.
Oh, it does.
You get great fans, and it's fantastic when the fans are great. But sadly, there's so many nutcases that follow the beautiful game.
I've had inspectors, bank managers, all friends of mine when you football. And don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And when you see them in the ground, you think you expect it from people in cop and that type of thing, or behind the goals. Yeah. But if we in stands and you see, and I think to myself, I can't believe how they are. Absolutely brilliant. They want to fight everybody. They want to cause a riot themselves. I'm thinking, you're an inspector, you're a sergeant, you're a bank manager, you're a doctor, and you think they're worse than some other, what we call the cloth kappa fans. The cloth kappa one now, but you know what I mean, don't you? My day. So it's incredible how football takes over the life.
Yeah, it is. It really is incredible, as you say. Some of these people, you'd be going in for a loan on Monday, or they're performing an operation. You're thinking, how the bloody hell do you perform like that at a game of football?
By the way, if you're not strong enough, it can break you. It can
absolutely.
break you. And what he finished up doing, he went to America at 26, but there's no way he should have gone at that age, should he?
To be fair, he just wanted to get out.
Burnley, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. But he was saying he was voted the worst, the biggest waste of money in British transfer history. And then 25 years after, he got voted for the second time the biggest waste of money in football history. And he says they're doing one in 2034, and if he wins it again, he can keep the fucking prize. Honestly, the fella was absolutely brilliant.
That's brilliant because it's great when you can take Mickey out yourself.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Steve Kinden's brilliant like that, taking Mickey out of himself. And he has a bit of a lisp and he does that. It's something rotten. Brilliant, absolutely. But they tell me he's a good after-dinner speaker.
I always look at whether it be a football or whatever. Everything's entertainment, isn't it? I watched him last night and I'm still chuckling over him today.
Some of the stories.
If Steve Daly was on tonight, I'd be out going and watching him again tonight. He's that good. And it's the same with football. When you watch a footballer perform and you think, I want to watch him again. When there's something, a good film, you want to watch the next part of the series, don't you?
Yeah.
And that's why football annoys me so much when there's so much negative football. And I look at it and think, do you know what? Half time, I want to turn off because I ain't watching this anymore. Did you watch Albion, by the way, last night? Your favourite team?
Listen, I've always had a soft spot for Albion.
I know you have.
Played football.
I know.
But, under Pulis, this manager here, not this Bruce, but the other manager, but Bruce, I mean, Bruce has done okay in football. I won't say he's done brilliant in management, but he's done okay. He's had some form of success. But for some unknown reason, why, with all that money he's got, why put himself in a position where him and his family are going to get a lot of abuse? Right, it baffles me.
I know, it's incredible, isn't it? Book Corner TC in association with myfootballbooks.com. The first book that I've dug out this week is a podcast that I've done with the great Paul Trevelyan, the Beaver. An unbelievable character. We started off when he told me that he shares the same birthday with Donald Duck. I thought this is going to be a great podcast, and the drawings that he's done, the book that's out now, it's a story of sock tags and self-belief. And he was talking about in the podcast, he was talking about the semi-final when they played Birmingham City. Well, Revy had called him up he called him up beginning of the week and says, I want to get you up here to Leeds, I want to chat with you. Because we didn't have mobile phones and stuff like that in them days, of course. So he said, look, the earliest I can get up there is a Thursday. So when he got there was him and Jack. And they wanted him to do a piece on the for the Sunday People about how to stop Leeds United, and it was pretty much the piece was stop Giles, stop Leeds, and Revy and Jack Charlton told him everything that he got to write in this Sunday People piece. He said you're gonna have one reader, and that's gonna be Freddie Goodwin. He said, phone up that scholar now, Jimmy Scoular, who's the manager of Cardiff, and get some quotes off Scoular saying the only way to stop us, because Scoular had said to Don Revie, if we'd have gone to a replay, we could have beat you, because Johnny Giles scored the 2 goals. He said, we stopped Giles, we stopped Leeds United, and Revy was laughing about this. So they'd done it on the premise of what Jimmy Scoular had said to Don. They'd done a piece in the Sunday People. Freddie Goodwin clearly had read it, because Don Revie said, they ain't going to drop Latchford. Latchford's scoring goals. They ain't going to drop Trevor Francis. Francis is scoring a lot of goals. The player I'd love them to drop is Gordon Taylor on the wing, the supplier of the crosses. And lo and behold, what Birmingham City did was drop Gordon Taylor. And on the day when Revie seen the team sheet, he said, Beaver, because that's what we called it, Beaver. We're 1-0 up. They've dropped Taylor. The plan has come to fruition, and that's the crappy old bastards. But that's what happened in football, and people.
But in those days, it's always the winger what seems to get dropped. You know
what
I mean?
Absolutely. Again, with Ramsey dropping the wingers, they were talking the boys last night about Waggy and how great a winger Wagstaff was. But because England at those days were playing without wingers, the likes of Waggy and other players of that ilk. Peter Thompson was another one. Uddy always said to me, 66 Peter Thompson should have played in that game. But they didn't like the wingers.
But again, Ramsey played without him, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And
Uddy, at the end of the day, won a World Cup, and we've not won one since. So.
No, and as Uddy always reminds me, Paul, I've got to pull you up about this. It's not the fact that we haven't won a World Cup since. We haven't got to a final of the World Cup since. And I say, you're absolutely right, Uddy. Of course, you're always right. But and he is.
Well, when you look, the last time we played anybody, what could pull the game by the scruff of the neck, we got to a semi-final. And all that, Paul Gascoigne. They wouldn't play Uddy. They wouldn't play Charlie Josh. They wouldn't play Stan Bowles.
No.
They won't play a Tony Curran. They, when they play them, half-heartedly play them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's when they come alive. Those players when they're playing against the elite, because they want to show the opposition. I'll show you who's the best player.
Absolutely, TC. I've always maintained this and always will do. We had the best group of football players playing in the 70s. Sadly, the managers didn't pick them. They played Charlie on the wing. John Richards had one call up against Northern Ireland, played him on the right wing. Why would you play a centre forward like Charlie George or John Richards and put him on the wing? It's just absolutely ridiculous, but that's what they did.
And if you don't play there, people said that you cause trouble.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy at times.
It is. It just beggars belief how these managers do get the jobs and what they do when they've got the job. But a fantastic read, a great little podcast that I've done with Paul the Beaver Trevelyan. He also done a podcast with the great Steve Perryman as well, and I listened to Steve. And I was so pleased that Steve couldn't get a word in edgeways as well. It took me 37 minutes to get my first word in with the podcast with Paul Trevelyan. The bloke is an absolute legend and a genius as well. Second book, The Neely Men, The Eternal Allure of the Greatest Teams That Failed to Win the World Cup by Aidan Williams. That looks a fantastic book. And of course, it's going to be talking about the great Hungarians in 54 and the Dutch in 74 and in 78, amongst others. Great players, great teams, weren't they, TC?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Hungarians, they're just a bit before. I mean, Uddy will remember them. You know what I mean? But, obviously the Dutch.
Yeah.
69. Well, I can remember FA Cups and that, but I can remember the 70 World Cups, 66 World Cups. From then onwards, the Dutch are the greatest team never to win a World Cup for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Uddy will thank you, by the way, for that, because he was only 2 when England got beat by Hungary at Wembley.
Well, when you're talking about Hungarians and Uddy talking about the Hungarians, I said, well, he may know.
To listen to the rest of this podcast, please go to www.patreon.com/SRBmedia or just follow the links in the description. Thank you.